You know what? We're just diving right in. You know, no intro music here. I'm eager. So why should I run around, go downstairs, and just make things up when I could come right on and start the stream? I'm doing it. How's the sound today? Wow, we got 9 a.m. and 5 a.m. Dedicated. Dedicated people. Thanks, guys. All right, as we gather, I'm mentally preparing for what's to come. Probably should have done the intro music for at least a little bit. 11 p.m. A little bit more reasonable, you Europeans. But still, we sometimes go a long time, and then it will no longer be reasonable. But I'm going to try and keep this one to 2-ish, 3 hours. That coming from not even knowing how long this chapter is. Nope, I'm not even going to look yet. Premature. All right. I'm going to pour my beer. Another heady topper. A classic. So how's everyone doing? Wow, a short hike in the mountains. Nice, Dennis. Lovely that by 4 p.m. you can be home from a hike. You must have no job or a great job with that kind of flexibility. Either way, I'm jealous. And what mountains? Hello, hello. Retired. Nice, Dennis. Excellent. Wow, that's the dream retirement. Being able to hike in the Rocky Mountains and read Lord of the Rings in the evenings. Ah, what a dream. Wow, slow rainy morning. This is fascinating. It's one of the hidden gems of doing this whole experience. Connecting around the world with you guys. So great. All right, so one thing I'm going to do here, it's me. I'm going to open my Christmas present from my brother and his wife. They ordered it, but it didn't arrive by Christmas, and then they gave it to me afterwards. Wow, look at this thing. America's #1 bestseller, 1 million sold in hardcover. And this is soft cover? Or maybe I don't know enough about books. This looks soft to me, but maybe in technical sense, this is still considered hardcover as opposed to audio. I don't know. Maybe not. Fascinating. All right. So I don't know what this is. Misty Mountains? Is this maybe the path that the Fellowship was trying to take to get over the mountains before the storm came and they had to turn back? Could it be related to Mount Doom somehow? Is there any clue in here? Or, well, it's not a lonely mountain because I see too many mountains in here. All right, but I'm pretty excited about this one. Ooh, majestic. Readers of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings will find in the Silmarillion a cosmology to call their own. Medieval romances, fierce fairy tales, and fiercer wars that ring with heraldic fury. It overwhelms the reader. You can't say ring as a verb on the back of a book like this, okay? Rings mean something here. Ooh, cool. The Voyage of Erendiel. Ooh, I shouldn't have even peeked. This is so exciting. It is a used book, and I see it comes with the charm of a used book, which I love. No need to buy new books. Not now. Too many people are getting rid of books. We got to save them. Ooh, It just smells so good. All right, I'm going to put this up here next to the other book that I have to read a little more thoroughly, the picture book, at some point soon. All right. So the Silmarillion is way, way, way before Lord of the Rings. Like, so way that it doesn't take place in Middle-earth, or that Middle-earth is not the same Middle-earth that we know and mountains have shifted? Or you're just saying in a general sense, because I clearly don't know what I'm talking about with any of these timelines. Read the end of The Black Gate Opens to refresh your memory. Wow, Ken, this is the kind of stuff I need. Thank you. Because I do know it is a little tough to get back into the rhythm, especially, breaking up my reading this much. So that is good insight. So The Black Gate that's a long time ago. That's not, 2 chapters ago. We're talking about book 5. Right. So let me just The Black Gate is closed is the one I just happened to open to here. Is that the one you said? How'd I lose you, Ken? What in the world? Oh, there we go. Black Gate opens. Wait, so the Black Gate is closed. Passage of so you're saying, I'm just getting confused. The Black Gate is closed is the old one from book 5, but you mean what you said, the Black Gate opens, which is what is happening before. It's like the last debate, the Black Gate opens. All right, good. We're on the same page here. I'm glad I'm not going that crazy. I just mixed up open and closed, but that's an important distinction. Yeah, old books have charm. You know what? I love the leather ones, kind of like some of these here, Treasure Island and Edgar Allan Poe. I wonder if those would fall under the classics. A little plug for the other channel, First Time Classics. A lot of classics I haven't read. I'm kind of new to reading, a little rebel in my younger years, not wanting to read in school. Now I'm thinking, what was I thinking? Because I should have been reading all along. So it's years ago now, but I read Of Mice and Men. I'm trying to make sure that's a book and not just the name of a band I saw once. But I thought it was great, and I remember the time when I should have read it and didn't in school, and then I was like, whoa, this is what I was missing out on? So since then, I've been thinking about some of those other simple books. Even middle school reading, definitely high school reading, and probably dozens or hundreds of other books in the college zone that I have somehow skipped because I was a bad student. And I want to get back to them, and maybe that will happen on the First Time Classics channel. All right, so how far back do you think I should go on The Black Gate Opens? Oh, and you know what? Before I do this, I don't remember if I did this last time. I think I try to block some of this out. I'm going to read a little bit of the next chapter maybe, and then go back so I know how this context plays in. No, you know what? No, I'm going to follow your lead. You said to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. I'm not even going to peek. I'm secretly hoping, and I think I even said this before, that we're going to follow Sam and Frodo. Even though I don't think that's likely, it feels like we're going to jump back a little bit and then maybe catch up. Oh man, it's so crazy. It feels so weird to be at this point in the story. I don't mind taking so long because I'm like almost getting sad already. I'm not ready for it to be over. But there's a lot of book left here, so much to keep me occupied. I don't know how much of this is from the appendices. We'll see. Just a paragraph or two. All right, good. That's not too bad. I'm reading back here. Someone said the first age is close to 6,000 years before The Lord of the Rings, but it goes to the dawn of time, which is 50 to 60,000 years ago. So I'm reading from that. Oh, starts from creation. Okay, wow. The first age is covered in the Silmarillion. It goes that far back. And then I'm forgetting all the ages, but you guys are talking about age 2. Where are we in Lord of the Rings? And The Hobbit. I'm assuming that's the same age. The third age? All right, good. Thank you, Anna. Make me feel better. All right, good. We're in the third age. End of the third age. Does the destruction of the ring end the age? You know what? I don't even know if I want to know, but I kind of do. All right, let me get to the end of Black Gate Opens. Okay, and Black Gate Opens, the chapter concludes book 5, and then book 6 starts. All right, thanks, guys. 3018 is the current year where I'm reading in Lord of the Rings. Okay, cool. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Sarah. He drew his sword and looked at it, and the intertwining shapes of red and gold and the flowing characters of Numenor glinted like fire upon the blade. This was made for just such an hour, he thought. If only I could smite that foul messenger with it, then almost I should draw level with old Mary. Oh, that's funny. As I read that, I was thinking from like Aragorn's perspective or something. Great. Well, I'll smite some of this beastly brood before the end. I wish I could see cool sunlight and green grass again. Just confirming here. All right, good. It is Pippin. That's what I thought. Was the whole chapter from Pippin's perspective, or did we jump around? Then, even as he thought these things, the first assault crashed into them. The orcs, hindered by the mires that lay before the hills, halted and poured their arrows into the defending ranks. But through them there came striding up, roaring like beasts, a great company of hill trolls. In the movie, it seems like it was mostly just one big guy. Hill trolls, okay. Out of Gorgoroth. Taller and broader than men they were, and they were clad only in close-fitting mesh of horny scales, or maybe that was their hideous hide, but they bore round bucklers, huge and black, wielding heavy hammers in their knotted hands. Reckless they sprang into the pools and waded across, bellowing as they came. Like a storm they broke upon the line of the men of Gondor, and beat upon helm and head, and arm and shield, as smiths hewing a hot bending iron. Ooh. Man, he's such a good writer. It's like just the way he says it all. My goodness. At Pippin's side, Beregond was stunned and overborne, and he fell, and the great troll chief that smote him down bent over him, reaching out a clutching claw, for these fell creatures would bite the throats of those that they threw down. Then Pippin stabbed upwards, and the written blade of Westerness pierced through the hide and went deep into the vitals of the troll. My goodness, I must have been distracted. I don't even remember this. And his black blood came gushing out. He toppled forward and came crashing down like a falling rock, burying those beneath him. Blackness and stench and crushing pain came upon Pippin, and his mind fell away into a great darkness. So it ends as I guessed it would, his thought said, even as it fluttered away, and it laughed a little within him ere it fled. Almost gay it seemed to be casting off at last all doubt and care and fear. And then, even as it winged away into forgetfulness, it heard voices, and they seemed to be crying in some forgotten world far above. The eagles are coming! The eagles are coming! For one moment more, Pippin's thought hovered. Bilbo, it said. But no, that came in his tale long ago. This is my tale, and it ended now. Goodbye. And his thought fled far away, and his eyes saw no more. Wow, what a killer. I'm sure I said this last time. What a killer way to end a chapter. Not knowing, and I can only assume that the books don't don't stray too far from the movies, or I should say vice versa. But thinking this could be the end? Ouch. Also, I'm now curious if Rippin, nice. It feels like, yeah, so true. Very good thing that I'm reading again. This is a great refresher. Thank you guys for pointing me here. So I'm wondering what impact the Eagles would have. So a morale boost, of course. In the movies, and for you book only people, I'm sorry to keep bringing up the movies. They were just so formative for me. Um, it feels like the Eagles wouldn't have been able to do that much with the battle. They were very helpful in fighting the Nazgul, but not so much on the ground. We didn't see a lot of that action. So I'm curious if their relief from the Eagles is just a morale boost, or if these Eagles are coming down and fighting. Or is this timing so perfect? The Eagles are arriving right when the ring was destroyed, and it's all happening in that same moment, and the battle shift was dramatic all at once. All right. Guess we're going to find out. We are going to raffo this one, right? All about the hills, the hosts of Mordor raged. Oh, the field of Cormallen. Cormallen. Cormallen sounds a little more right to me, but feel free to correct me. All about the hills, the host of Mordor raged. The captains of the west were foundering in a gathering sea. The sun gleamed red, and under the wings of the Nazgul the shadows of death fell dark upon the earth. Aragorn stood beneath his banner, silent and stern as one lost in thought of things long past or far away. But his eyes gleamed like stars that shine the brighter as the night deepens. Upon the hilltop stood Gandalf, and he was white and cold, and no shadow fell on him. Because the Nazgul were not going near him? Where's my pen? Things I gotta try to soak in. And I'm curious what Aragorn was thinking about. Love? Loss? Long past or far away? Or both? The onslaught of Mordor broke like a wave on the beleaguered hills, voices roaring like a tide amid the wreck and crash of arms. As if to his eyes some sudden vision had been given, Gandalf stirred and he turned, looking back north where the skies were pale and clear. Then he lifted up his hands and cried in a loud voice ringing above the din, "The eagles are coming!" And many voices answered, crying, "The eagles are coming! The eagles are coming!" The hosts of Mordor looked up and wondered what this sign might mean. So I guess they're not immediately scared. I also like this battle mentality of if announcements are made, other people kind of shout the announcement as well to make sure it gets far into the battle so everyone can hear it. So everyone's saying the eagles are coming to echo Gandalf and spread the word. There came Gwaihir, the Wind Lord, and Landraval, his brother, the greatest of all the eagles of the north, mightiest of the descendants of old Thorondor, who built his eyries in the inaccessible peaks of the encircling mountains when Middle-earth was young. Behind them, in long, swift lines, came all their vassals from the northern mountains, speeding on a gathering wind. Straight down upon the Nazgul they bore, stooping suddenly out of the high airs, and the rush of their wide wings as they passed over was like a gale. Yeah, way to go. I love this already because just the making it so much more personal with the eagles. Not just vague eagles. They have names, you know. They are bigger personalities. They are the mightiest of all the eagles. I guess those two. Who was their father? Whoa. Wait, does it say that? Descendants of old Thorondor, but not necessarily. Wow. Yeah, interesting, Mr. Donato. that Gandalf's not in the fight. He's a little back. He's on the hill potentially. Hard to tell where the hill is in a commanding role. Ooh, Ower. So you're saying it's not necessarily about the Nazgul that there's no shadow, but he has his own light, so no shadows touch him because he's giving off light. I like that. Ooh, excellent. I like that. I will be reading more about the Eagles. Wait, who was talking about Aragorn? Oh, first pronunciation, Dennis? Cormallen? All right. But the Nazgul turned and fled and vanished into Mordor's shadows, hearing a sudden terrible call out of the Dark Tower. And even at that moment, all the hosts of Mordor trembled. Doubt clutched their heart. It's good. So this is a very palpable shift. That this is what's happening. They know something changed, and I'm gonna say, I don't think this is reaching, that this, at that moment, all the hosts of Mordor trembled, I'm going to say is directly connected to the fear that Sauron has in this moment, right? Doubt clutched their heart. Their laughter failed. Their hands shook and their limbs were loosed. The power that drove them on and filled them with hate and fury was wavering. It comes right out and say it. Its will was removed from them. And now, looking in the eyes of their enemies, they saw a deadly light and were afraid. Ooh. Excellent. Creepy as ever, though, that their laughter failed. As if they are laughing with joy in this battle. As if this is all funny and a game to them. The whole battle itself. That is creepy. Oh, so Mr. Donato, you were literally saying Aragorn, but true of Gandalf. Okay, nice. Sauron realized how close to ruin he is. Yeah, and that fear is instantly felt even before the moment. Wow, that's great. Then all the captains of the West cried aloud, for their hearts were filled with a new hope in the midst of darkness. Out from the beleaguered hills, knights of Gondor, riders of Rohan, Dunedain of the north, close-serried companies drove against their wavering foes, piercing the press with the thrust of bitter spears. But Gandalf lifted up his arms and called once more in a clear voice. What does he call? For Frodo? Stand, men of the West. Stand and wait. This is the hour of doom. And even as he spoke, the earth rocked beneath their feet. Then rising up swiftly, far above the towers of the Black Gate, high above the mountains, a vast soaring darkness sprang into the sky, flickering with fire. The earth groaned and quaked. The towers of the Teeth swayed, tottering and fell down. The mighty rampart crumbled. The Black Gate was hurled in ruin, and from far away, now dim, now growing, now mounting to the clouds, there came a drumming rumble, a roar, a long echoing roll of ruinous noise. This must have been alarming. Whoa! And then Gandalf declares, "The realm of Sauron is ended," said Gandalf. "The ring-bearer has fulfilled his quest." My goodness, that it feels like it happened so fast. And as the captains gazed south to the land of Mordor, it seemed to them that black against the pall of cloud there rose a huge shape of shadow, impenetrable, lightning-crowned, filling all the sky. Enormous, it reared above the world and stretched out towards them a vast, threatening hand, terrible but impotent. For even as it leaned over them, a great wind took it, and it was all blown away and passed, and then a hush fell. Hmm. Hmm. So is this like Sauron, the spirit of him, or evil itself, or just the bad weather of Mordor being blown away by coming good? Huh. Either way, I love that it's not that specific, but it's he just finds this perfect line of, is this intense magic spiritual thing, or is it completely normal weather? Um, and I'm stuck trying to analyze it. And it's fun that people can debate it all. It's great. Whoa, Mr. Donato. The first, last, and only time we see Sauron. Love that. Um, him and his corruption being blown from the world. Wow, love it. Reaching out. And what does it say? Without power, impotent. The captains bowed their heads, and when they looked up again, behold, their enemies were flying, and the power of Mordor was scattering like dust in the wind. As when death smites the swollen, brooding things that inhabits the crawling hill and holds them all in sway, ants will wander witless and purposeless, and then feebly die. So the creatures of Sauron, orc or troll or beast spell enslaved, ran hither and thither mindless, and some slew themselves or cast themselves into pits, or fled wailing back to hide in holes and dark, lightless places far from hope. But the men of Rune and of Harad, Easterling and Southron, saw the ruin of their war and the great majesty and glory of the captains of the West, and those that were deepest and longest in evil servitude, hating the West, and yet were men proud and bold in their turn, now gathered themselves for a last stand of desperate battle? What? I didn't think that's where it was going. But the most part fled eastward as they could, and some cast their weapons down and sued for mercy. All right, that tracks. That makes a little more sense. I was hoping, as that sentence started, that some of these men, the Easterlings and men of the South, it would be the evil was coming more from Sauron. What stinks is whether it was an evil in their own hearts or whether it was kind of groomed by Sauron. I guess they still remain evil now. Unlike, in some ways, it feels like the orcs and things were more redeemable than these men, because without Sauron controlling their feeble minds, they wander about mindless. They no longer had this same urge for evil, but these men still do. Some of them. And they want to battle. Crazy that they're going to, try and take a stand here again. But I'm glad some fled. And casting down your weapons, begging for mercy. Pretty good move to the noblemen of the West. We'll see what they do. Then Gandalf, leaving all such matters of battle and command to Aragorn and the other lords, stood upon the hilltop and called, and down to him came the great eagle, Gwaihir the Wind Lord, and stood before him. Twice you have borne me, Gwaihir, my friend, said Gandalf. Thrice shall pay for all, if you are willing. You will not find me a burden much greater than when you bore me from Ziraxigil, where my old life burned away. I would bear you, answered Gwaihir, whither you will, even were you made of stone. Ha, nice. I'm curious if he weighs less now. Just, in his magic, not that he's actually lost weight. I'm not so concerned about that. Then come, and let your brother go with us, and some other of your folk who is most swift. For we have need of speed greater than any wind, outmatching the wings of the Nazgul. Yeah, what's going on with the Nazgul now? Did they just plummet to earth and disappear? Or is he just saying, by comparison's sake, the Nazgul? I'm hoping they're not still around. The north wind blows, but we shall outfly it, said Gwahir. And he lifted up Gandalf and sped away south, and with him went Landroval and Meneldor, young and swift. And they passed over Udun and Gorgoroth and saw all the land in ruin and tumult beneath them, and before them Mount Doom blazing, pouring out its fire. Yep, the Eagles are awesome. Love that we are having a conversation with them. But I do understand why Peter Jackson would have left that out from the movies for pacing, but also for the them speaking. It somehow is shifting the way I view them a little bit. So you're saying maybe these men of the South and East, they'd given themselves over to evil, and the evil is like has a deep, long-lasting effect, maybe longer than it does with these orcs who are now just going a little more random and wild or throwing themselves in pits. It's a little longer lasting with these men. Maybe we don't even really know why. And they really hated the West. So even some of that hatred goes before Sauron. So yeah, wow, such a weird relationship there. Again, such a deep world. I want to have stories from every little part of this land. All right. I'm glad that you are here with me, said Frodo. Whoa! Here at the end of all things. Great line. Yes, I am with you, master, said Sam, laying Frodo's wounded hand gently to his breast. And you're with me, and the journey's finished. But after coming all that way, I don't want to give up yet. It's not like me, somehow, if you understand. Maybe not, Sam, said Frodo. But it's like things are in the world. Hope fails, and end comes. We have only a little time to wait now. We are lost in ruin and downfall, and there is no escape. Well, master, we could at least go further from this dangerous place, here, from this crack of doom, if that's its name. Now, couldn't we? Come on, Mr. Frodo, let's go down the path at any rate. Very well, Sam. If you wish to go, I'll come, said Frodo. And they rose and went slowly down the winding road. And even as they passed towards the mountain's quaking feet, a great smoke and steam belched from the Samath Nar, and the side of the cone was riven open, and a huge fiery vomit rolled in slow, thunderous cascade down the eastern mountainside. Frodo and Sam could go no further. Their last strength of mind and body was swiftly ebbing. They had reached a low ashen hill piled at the mountain's foot, but from it there was no more escape. I was wondering there because for a second it seemed like it was going to be a different vibe than the movies where maybe they're able to start making their way out. I no longer think that. It I guess, didn't matter because in the end they were trapped. But I love that they were trying to go for as long as they could. And I love that Sam is pulling Frodo and that Frodo is willing. He's saying, might as well, I guess, if you want to, Sam. And if it wasn't for Sam saying that, it seems Frodo was willing, at least for this moment, to just stay there and call it, say, we did what we tried to do. And maybe in some ways that's what Frodo was waiting for a while now. But wow. QWERTY, you're saying back to the men of the East and South. Yeah, it might not have even occurred to them that there would be a chance of mercy. So they might have thought their only chance was to fight or run, and making that choice is tough. And even the ones who called for mercy, that might have been the same as throwing themselves in a pit as far as they could tell. because they wouldn't expect that there actually would be mercy. I'm hoping and assuming that there will be mercy, like the Hornberg. Yep. But it is, yeah, great point. Ooh, that's edgy. Saved it. Yep. Millennia of indoctrination. Yep. It was an island now, not long to endure amid the torment of Erodruin. All about it the earth gaped, and from deep rifts and pits, smoke and fumes leapt up behind them. The mountain was convulsed. Great rents. Oh, yeah, there was a period there. Great rents opened in its side. Slow rivers of fire came down the long slopes towards them. Soon they would be engulfed. A rain of hot ash was falling. They stood now, and Sam, still holding his master's hands, caressed it. He sighed. What a tale we have been in, Mr. Frodo, haven't we? He said. I wish I could hear it told. Do you think they'll say, now comes the story of Nine-Fingered Frodo and the Ring of Doom? And then everyone will hush like we did when in Rivendell they told us the tale of Beren, One Hand, and the Great Jewel. What? Beren, One Hand, and the Great Jewel? I hope we get a little more about that. I do remember hearing Beren, the Great Jewel. Is that a Silmaril? Maybe I'm making things up. I'm out of my depth. I'm going to wait. Unfortunately, how would anyone even know that Frodo is nine-fingered? Although maybe they could still find their bodies in Sam's mind. I wish I could hear it, and I wonder how it will go after our part. Oh, go on after our part. But even while he spoke so, to keep fear away until the very last, his eyes still strayed north into the eye of the wind, to where the sky far off was clear, as the cold blast rising to a gale drove back the darkness and the ruin of the clouds. And so it was that Gwaihir saw them with his keen, far-seeing eyes, as down the wild wind he came, and daring the great peril of the skies, he circled in the air. Two small dark figures, forlorn, hand in hand upon a little hill, while the world shook under them, and gasped, and rivers of fire drew near. And even as he espied them, and came swooping down, he saw them fall, worn out, or choked with fumes and heat, or stricken down by despair at last, hiding their eyes from death. Side by side they lay, and down swept Gwaihir, and down came Landroval and Meneldor the Swift, and in a dream, not knowing what fate had befallen them, the wanderers were lifted up and borne far away out of the darkness and the fire. Wow, great way for that to happen. And even as he saw them fall. Stricken down by despair. I'm curious what of those things it is. Maybe Sam and Frodo were stricken down by despair. I don't want to think that. I'm going to think it's more of being tired. But I'm not sure. I'm going to find out plenty about Beren and the Great Jewel. Yeah, all right. But I love that it was like a dream. Like they don't even know they're being taken away. It's all a blur. Because then next it says, when Sam awoke, he found that he was lying on some soft bed, but over him gently swayed wide beechen boughs, and through their young leaves sunlight glimmered green and gold. All the air was full of a sweet mingled scent. He remembered that smell, the fragrance of Ithilien. Bless me, he mused, how long have I been asleep? For the scent had borne him back to the day when he had lit his little fire under the sunny bank, and for the moment all else between was out of waking memory. He stretched and drew a deep breath. "Why, what a dream I've had," he muttered. "I am glad to wake." That's pretty hilarious. And just for a moment thinking of that classic way that they used to tell stories in I don't know what year it was. I'm gonna say the '60s. Babes in Toyland, or even earlier when it's like what's the thing? Not Alice in Wonderland. Although actually that too, great example that I accidentally came to with the tornado, and they go The Wizard of Oz. There we go. That was bad. They tell the story style of falling asleep, and then the whole story that you love happens, and then at the end they wake up and they're like, "Oh man, crazy dream." Ha ha ha. I hate that. And I'm so glad that's not what this is. It better not be. But I would laugh if that's what this actually was. And a first-time reader might reach this point and wonder, back in that time, "What a dream I've had," he muttered. "I am glad to wake." He sat up, and then he saw that Frodo was lying beside him, and slept peacefully, one hand behind his head and the other resting upon the coverlet. It was the right hand, and the third finger was missing. Huh. Is that where he was wearing the ring this whole time? Yeah, because for Gollum bit off the finger with the ring on it. Wait, am I reading that right? That he was wearing the ring on his middle finger? Okay, interesting. It was his right hand, third finger was missing. Full memory flooded back. We have something solid to anchor him to the reality of the story. And Sam cried aloud. It wasn't a dream. Then where are we? And a voice spoke softly behind him. In the land of Ithilien, and in the keeping of the king, and he awaits you. With that, Gandalf stood before him, robed in white, his beard now gleaming like pure snow in the twinkling of the leafy sunlight. "Well, Master Samwise, how do you feel?" he said. But Sam lay back and stared with open mouth, and for a moment, between bewilderment and great joy, he could not answer. At last he gasped, "Gandalf, I thought you were dead. But then I thought I was dead myself. Is everything sad going to come untrue? What's happened to the world?" "A great shadow has departed," said Gandalf. And then he laughed, and the sound was like music, or like water in a parched land. And as he listened, the thought came to Sam that he had not heard laughter, the pure sound of merriment, for days upon days without count. It fell upon his ears like an echo of all the joys he had ever known. But he himself burst into tears. Then in a sweet rain will pass down a wind of spring, and the sun will shine out the clearer. His tears ceased, and his laughter welled up, and laughing he sprang from his bed. That is very sweet. All right, I guess I got to pause for a second. Wow, okay, that got me. All right, thumb isn't a finger. If you count from your pointer without the thumb, 1, 2, 3. So ring finger. Makes sense that it would be the ring finger. But I still don't picture the ring finger either, to be honest. I'm just stuck with the movie index finger vibe. Um, Impressive biting skills from Gollum to be able to hit the finger with the ring and not take a pinky with it. Yeah, wow. Quite a way to wake up for Sam. And I love that we get to see Sam's perspective here. Um, Such a peaceful place to wake up. So much happiness, so much joy. Um, how do I feel? He cried. Well, I don't know how to say it. I feel, he waved his arms up in the air. I feel like spring after winter and sun on the leaves and like trumpets and harps and all the songs I have ever heard. He stopped and he turned towards his master. But how's Mr. Frodo? He said. Isn't it a shame about his poor hand? But I hope he's all right otherwise. He's had a cruel time. But, yes, I am all right, otherwise, said Frodo, sitting up and laughing in his turn. I fell asleep again, waiting for you. Whoa! So he was already awake? Sam, you sleepyhead, I was awake early this morning, and now it must be nearly noon. Noon? Said Sam, trying to calculate. Noon of what day? The 14th day of the new year, said Gandalf, or if you like, the 8th day of April in the Shire reckoning. There's a little asterisk there. I guess we're going to get there in the appendix. April 8th? April 8th? Well, well, well. Huh. What a day. That's a good day, you know? 14th day of the new year. We're going to go with April 8th. I like that better in the Shire reckoning. It's interesting to me that we are getting Sam's perspective and that Frodo waking up and seeing Gandalf and discovering all this happened out of our view. Kind of opposite from the movies, really, where we're getting Frodo's perspective and Sam's already been awake and he comes running in and grabs his hand. And speaking of, I saw some clip of Sam talking about this and saying that Sir Ian McKellen, that Gandalf was telling him he was reading the book in between takes, and during the scene he said, and make sure you grab Frodo's hand because the fans are going to be looking for that. He must have not been talking about this scene, though. That must have been earlier because it doesn't say that he grabbed Frodo's hand, I don't think, unless he's about to. And this happened entirely different. But he has grabbed Frodo's hand many times before. That was a key part of Mount Doom afterwards. So, yeah, I love that there was attention to detail in the books. But I also love finding some of these clear, distinct differences. And I love that we're seeing it from Sam's perspective. Yep. But in Gondor, the new year will always now begin upon the 25th of March when Sauron fell. Whoa, they shifted their calendar? They shifted their calendar. Well, no wonder it's a new age. So wait, right now they're in the fourth age. The fourth age began, and the fourth age gets a new calendar. Nice. The 25th of March. All right, we're going to start celebrating these things. Are we going to celebrate in a little bit when Sauron fell? And when you were brought out of the fire to the king, he has tended you, and now he awaits you. You shall eat and drink with him. When you are ready, I will lead you to him. The king, said Sam. What king? And who is he? The king of Gondor and lord of the western lands, said Gandalf. And he has taken back all his ancient realm. He will ride soon to his crowning, but he waits for you. Yes. Wow, what a great thing. My vocab is pretty slack in here. My brain's only half functioning, I guess. But that is a great thing. It's so cool. So Aragorn waited for his crowning. Well, just assuming it's Aragorn we're talking here. Waited for his crowning, his coronation, for Frodo and Sam. That's awesome. And took back the ancient lands. I wonder how much of the ancient lands. All of them? I guess now is the time, right? Reestablishing those original boundaries, far larger than they were through all of the stories so far. That's awesome. And Gandalf still didn't answer the question. But does Sam already know? Was that enough information for him? What shall we wear? Said Sam. For all he could see was the old and tattered clothes that they had journeyed in. Wow. Lying folded on the ground beside their beds. The clothes that you wore on your way to Mordor, said Gandalf. Even the orc rags that you bore in the Black Land, Frodo, shall be preserved. Ooh. No silks and linens, nor any armor or heraldry could be more honorable. But later I will find some other clothes, perhaps. They will be preserved. I can't tell if my brain just went there or if this is actually the reality of it. Like preserved, like in a museum. Like the world has shifted forever and they are officially. Gandalf's like, we already know you're going to be the most legendary of all the legends. Your clothing will be in a museum. It will be on display in, well, I don't know actually where. I guess somewhere in Gondor. I guess probably Minas Tirith, but wherever it would be part of the whole legendary story. That's so cool. Kind of like Sam was saying, that they'll be part of these stories. But I'm glad they're going to get him, something a little more, some other clothes. Even though I agree with Gandalf, nothing could be more honorable. Then he held out his hands to them, and they saw that one shone with light. What have you got there? Frodo cried. Can it be? Yes, I have brought your 2 treasures. They were found on Sam when you were rescued, the Lady Galadriel's gifts. Your glass, Frodo, and your box, Sam. You will be glad to have these safe again. Wow, they really survived. That's so great. And Frodo gets to just keep this. I guess again, sorry to keep bringing up the movie, but I just assume all of this gets lost in the shuffle, but it's so great that they're going to have this. And what is Sam going to grow in that garden? My goodness. When they were washed and clad and had eaten a light meal, the hobbits followed Gandalf. They stepped out of the beech grove in which they had lain and passed on to a long green lawn, glowing in sunshine, bordered by stately dark-leaved trees laden with scarlet blossoms. All right, I have to go back for a sec. Love that. There were 30 days in March, or wreath in the Shire calendar. Okay. Behind them, they could hear the sound of falling water, and a stream ran down before them, between flowering banks until it came to a greenwood at the lawn's foot, and passed then on under an archway of trees, through which they saw the shimmer of water far away. As they came to the opening in the wood, they were surprised to see knights in bright mail and tall guards in silver and black standing there, who greeted them with honor and bowed before them. And then one blew a long trumpet, and they went on through the aisle of trees beside the singing stream. So they came to a wide green land, and beyond it was a broad river in a silver haze, out of which rose a long wooded isle. And many ships lay by its shores, but on the field where they now stood a great host was drawn up in ranks and companies, glittering in the sun. And as the hobbits approached, swords were unsheathed, and spears were shaken, and horns and trumpets sang, and men cried with many voices in many tongues, Long live the halflings! Praise them with great praise. Oh, going another language here. Quo e ferian an, Anglerni Perianath. Praise them with great praise, Frodo and Samwise. Dar a Behel Conan a Anun. Aglerio. Praise them. Aglerio. Alaita te laititi andave laitavalmet. Praise them. Cormacal lindor laita tariana. Praise them. The ring bearers praise them with great praise. All right, that was a little rough. Sorry about that. So yeah, wow. Praise them with great praise. They are definitely worthy of honor. This feels like a little bit strange and probably embarrassing for them. But I like that they're getting respect, and I'm kind of picturing them being bashful through this, not quite knowing how to react. Oh, and here we go, because the next line says just that. And so the red blood blushing in their faces and their eyes shining with wonder, Frodo and Sam went forward and saw that amidst the clamorous host were set 3 high seats built of green turves. Behind the seat upon the right floated white on green and a great horse running free. Upon the left was a banner, silver upon blue, a ship swan proud faring on the sea. But behind the highest throne, in the midst of all, a great standard was spread in the breeze, and there a white tree flowered upon a sable field beneath a shining crown and 7 glittering stars. On the throne sat a mail-clad man. A great sword was laid across his knees, but he wore no helm. As they drew near, he rose, and then they knew him, changed as he was, so high and glad of face, kingly, lord of men, dark-haired with eyes of gray. Frodo ran to meet him, and Sam followed close behind. Well, if this isn't the crown of all, he said, Strider, or I'm still sleeping. Strider. I love that they call him Strider still. I feel like nobody else does. You know, it's like these hobbits know him from the Strider days. Like they're like old friends at this point. True. The months were translated for our purposes. Indeed. I think I did peek at the appendix early on for part of that, but I don't remember exactly what it said, but I knew it was something along those lines, which is cool, and I appreciate it. Thank you, because otherwise the book would get pretty complicated, you know? Wow. Seeing Aragorn again. So great. This is just what you want, you know? Yes, Sam Strider, said Aragorn. It is a long way, is it not, from Bree, where you did not like the look of me? A long way for us all, but yours has been the darkest road. And then, to Sam's surprise and utter confusion, he bowed his knee before them, and taking them by the hand, Frodo upon his right and Sam upon his left, he led them to the throne. And setting them upon it, he turned to the men and the captains who stood by and spoke, so that his voice rang over the host, crying, Praise them with great praise. And when the glad shout had swelled up and died away again, to Sam's final and complete satisfaction and pure joy, a minstrel of Gondor stood forth and knelt and begged leave to sing. And behold, he said, Lo, lords and knights and men of valor unashamed, kings and princes and fair people of Gondor, and riders of Rohan and ye sons of Elrond, the Dunedain of the north, and elf and dwarf. Okay. And great hearts of the Shire, and all free folk of the West, now listen to my lay, for I will sing to you of Frodo, of Frodo of the 9 fingers and the Ring of Doom. That's great. Did Sam drop that knowledge, or did Gandalf know? How could they have known of all the things to name it? Great instincts there, Sam. And when Sam heard that, he laughed aloud for sheer delight, and he stood up and cried, Oh, great glory and splendor, and all my wishes have come true. And then he wept. And all the host laughed and wept, and in the midst of their merriment and tears, the clear voice of the minstrel rose like silver and gold, and all men were hushed. And he sang to them, now in the elven tongue, now in the speech of the West, until their hearts, wounded with sweet words, overflowed, and their joy was like swords, and they passed in thought out to regions where pain and delight flow together, and tears are the very wine of blessedness. Whoa. I gotta process that one for a day or two. My goodness. Regions where pain and delight flow together, and tears are the very wine of blessedness. Wow-wee. That's awesome. I'm just processing everyone who was there, so I think we got some confirmation. Love that the Sons of Elrond are there. No mention of Elrond. The Dunedain and Elfendwarf, I mean, Legolas and Gimli, I think we can assume. So far, what about the other hobbits? You know? I feel like, well, you know what? I don't mind that they're waiting for that, you know, that it was not mentioned yet. But I feel like they should be a part of this, you know? But again, that's just the movie in my head. And at last, the sun fell from the noon, and the shadows of the trees lengthened. He ended. Praise them with great praise, he said, and knelt. And then Aragorn stood up, and all the host arose, and they passed to pavilions made ready to eat and drink and make merry while the day lasted. Frodo and Sam were led apart and brought to a tent, and there their old raiment was taken off, but folded and set aside with honor, and clean linen was given them. Oh, they really did wear that. That's awesome. Like kind of showing the journey. Pretty epic. Then Gandalf came and in his arms, to the wonder of Frodo, he bore the sword and the elven cloak and the mithril coat that had been taken from him in Mordor. Yeah, that must have been shocking. Like, how on earth did you get that? For Sam he brought a coat of gilded mail, and his elven cloak all healed of the soils and hurts that it had suffered. And then he laid before them 2 swords. I do not wish for any sword, said Frodo. Tonight, at least, you should wear one, said Gandalf. Then Frodo took the small sword that had belonged to Sam and had been lain at his side in Cirith Ungol. Sting I gave to you, Sam, he said. No, master, Mr. Bilbo gave it to you, and it goes with your silver coat. He would not wish anyone else to wear it now. Yeah, you know, that's so interesting. I'm kind of curious. So Frodo doesn't want it, and Gandalf says, at least you should wear one? Like, tonight, at least. What is it about tonight, and why? Well, I guess in my mind, I tend to agree with Frodo. Like, is this a time of peace where you don't need a sword? Maybe. So it feels kind of funny to me. I guess to me, I kind of side with Frodo. I would say, no sword. This is a time of peace. But I also trust Gandalf. So I go back and forth. All right, I'm going to read these comments. Sorry. All right, good perspective, Brett. Swords are a status symbol. They died. As we were talking about the hobbits. Nice. Fair enough. It's possible. March 25th is 9 months before December 25th. Whoa, never even thought about that. Huh, very interesting. I don't know. Yeah. So, all right, I guess Frodo is trying to give this to Sam. Sam says no. Frodo gave way, and Gandalf, as if he were their esquire, knelt and girded the sword belts around them. And then rising, he set circlets of silver upon their heads. And when they were arrayed, they went to the great feast. And they sat at the king's table with Gandalf and King Eomer of Rohan, and the Prince Imrahil, and all the chief captains. And there also were Gimli and Legolas. Official. Nice. King Eomer. Ooh, boy. All right. Prince Imrahil feels like great. It's cool. Feels like a bit of a curveball in some ways. But I like that he's still doing his thing. And this feels like great. The feast part of this is something we didn't see in the movies. it just feels a little like we can soak it in, a little bit more. We only got a glimpse of all of this. But when, after the standing silence, wine was brought, there came in 2 esquires to serve the kings, or so they seemed to be. One was clad in silver and sable of the guards of Minas Tirith, and the other in white and green. But Sam wondered what such young boys were doing in an army of mighty men. Then suddenly, as they drew near and he could see them plainly, he exclaimed, "Why, look, Mr. Frodo, look here! Well, if it isn't Pippin, Mr. Peregrine Took, I should say, and Mr. Merry, how they have grown! Bless me! But I can see there's more tales to tell than ours." "There are indeed," said Pippin, turning towards him, "and we'll begin telling them as soon as this feast has ended. In the meantime, you can try, Gandalf. He is not so close as he used to be, though he laughs now more than he talks. For the present, Merry and I are busy. We are knights of the city and of the mark, as I hope you observe." Yeah, they're all dressed up. Of the mark. Oh, yeah. So I guess like that would be Rohan, like the Riddermark. Am I reading that correctly? Well, I'm glad they're together, but yeah, so what would that mean? Are they supposed to be like living in separate lands, both being knights of a whole separate section? Huh. All right. At last the glad day ended, and when the sun was gone and the round moon rode slowly above the mists of Anduin and flickered through the fluttering leaves, Frodo and Sam sat under the whispering tree amid the fragrance of the fair Ithilien. Oh, whispering trees, yeah. And they talked deep into the night with Merry and Pippin and Gandalf, and after a while Legolas and Gimli joined them. There, I love a good debrief. Just so good. And under the trees, just fragrant air. Oh man, this is what you need, after all this time. Status symbols again. All right, thank you. Good. They're not going to go living in separate areas. And they are pretty good status symbols. So I respect them as knights. Wow. There, Frodo and Sam learned much of all that had happened to the company after their fellowship was broken on the evil day at Parth Galen by Rhoros Falls, and still there was always more to ask and more to tell. Orcs and talking trees. Wow, imagine hearing that part of the story. You'd be like, you're making this up. And leagues of grass and galloping riders and glittering caves. Oh, yeah, behind Helm's Deep. And white towers and golden halls and battles and tall ships sailing. All these passed before Sam's mind until he felt bewildered. But amidst all these wonders, he returned always to his astonishment at the size of Merry and Pippin. And he made them stand back to back with Frodo and himself. He scratched his head. "Can't understand it at your age," he said. "But there it is. You're 3 inches taller than you ought to be, or I'm a dwarf." So it's real. It lasted, hanging out with Treebeard and drinking the good stuff. That's really funny. I love that it came back and that was mentioned, and how that like mattered to Sam. That's great. "That you certainly are not," said Gimli. "But what did I say? Mortals cannot go drinking Ent drafts and expect no more to come of them than a pot of beer." So true. Wow, Gimli just knows. "Ent drafts," said Sam. "There you go about Ents again. But what they are beats me. Why, it will take weeks before we get all these things sized up." "Weeks indeed," said Pippin. "And then Frodo will have to be locked up in a tower in Minas Tirith and write it all down. Otherwise he will forget half of it, and poor old Bilbo will be dreadfully disappointed." But that's wise. Write it all down. Get it written down. Journal this, Frodo. Come on now. A legendary adventure to start the Fourth Age. Or I should say end the Third, really. At length, Gandalf rose. "The hands of the king are hands of healing, dear friends," he said. "Oh, But you went to the very brink of death ere he recalled you, putting forth all his power and sent you into the sweet forgetfulness of sleep. Oh, Aragorn did that? And though you have indeed slept long and blessedly, still it is now time to sleep again. All right, fair enough, wise. But I love that. Well, I guess I always assumed that it was like Elrond or something, or maybe Gandalf. But it feels like Aragorn did this. Wow, that's great. The hands of the king are hands of healing. And not only Sam and Frodo here, said Gimli, but you too, Pippin. I love you if only because of the pains you have cost me, which I shall never forget. Nor shall I forget finding you on the hill of the last battle. Oh, did Gimli find him? But, whoa, but for Gimli the dwarf, you would have been lost then. But at least I know now the look of a hobbit's foot. No way. Though it be all that can be seen under a heap of bodies. And when I heaved that great carcass off you, I made sure you were dead. I could have torn out my beard, and it is only a day yet since you were first up and abroad again. To bed now you go, and so shall I. Wow, that's so great. So Gimli legit saved him. And by the foot? Wait, so Gimli, he must have been going out with that in mind, purposefully to say, I'm going to find him. Because I guess a hobbit foot is pretty identifiable, but I'm assuming he was wearing shoes? Maybe not. Either way, wow. And I, said Legolas, shall walk in the woods of this fair land, which is rest enough. In days to come, if my elven lord allows, some of our folk shall remove hither, and when we come, it shall be blessed for a while. For a while, a month, a life, 100 years of men. But Anduin is near, and Anduin leads down to the sea. To the sea. Sorry, guys. Wow. Is Legolas just going down to the sea? It calls to him now? To the sea, the white gulls are crying. The wind is blowing, and white foam is flying. West, west away, the round sun is falling. Gray ships, do you hear them calling? The voices of my people have gone before me. I will leave the woods that bore me. For our days are ending, and our years failing. I will pass the wide waters, lonely sailing. Long are the waves on the last shore falling. Sweet are the voices in the lost isle calling. In Aressa, in Elvenhome, that no man can discover, where the leaves fall not, land of my people forever. We look to Elvenhome. Whoa. And so singing, Legolas went away down the hill. Oh no, last page. Oh, let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Adele McAllister has a nice version of this song. Okay. I'm definitely going to check it out. Oh, wait. So, hobbits don't wear shoes, certainly. But the prologue mentions boots. Either way, then, in that case, a hobbit foot would stand out on a battlefield. So I guess Gimli could have seen it accidentally, but I'm imagining him as looking specifically for him. That's how I'm picturing this. All right. Then the others also departed, and Frodo and Sam went to their beds and slept. And in the morning they rose again in hope and peace, and they spent many days in Ithilien. For the field of Cormallen, where the host was now encamped, was near to Henneth and Anun, and the stream that flowed from its falls could be heard in the night as it rushed down through its rocky gate, and passed through the flowery meads into the tides of Anduin by the Isle of Cair Andros. Sorry, guys. I'm going to go up in my map here. Okay, I think I was picturing the wrong area here, like entirely. I knew it said Ithilien, and I was like trying to picture it, and I'm like, wait, am I wrong? Was that the name of like where Rivendell was or something? I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. So North Ithilien, that's roughly where Frodo and Sam were when they interacted with Faramir for the first time, right? Um, that bit of trees to the east of Anduin. Um, Interesting. The forest feels so magical, and yeah, between Anduin and the mountains. Okay, that's so interesting. So it's not to downplay the forest, but it's like it's just a normal forest. Like it's not some magical elven land, or are all lands a little more magical for the presence of elves here? Like Legolas, but also less evil in the world now. Huh. Okay. And so the fields of Cormallen, um, they were probably mentioned before, but it just didn't mean a lot to me, and it's not even on this map. So, um, wow, I love that this is in normal woods. Very cool. All right. The hobbits wandered here and there, visiting again the places that they had passed before. Yeah, you're right. There I go. I got to read on. And Sam hoped always in some shadow of the woods or secret glade to catch maybe a glimpse of the great, because this is where they saw it, Oliphant. And when he learned that at the siege of Gondor there had been a great number of those beasts, but that they were all destroyed, he thought it was a sad loss. Well, one can't be everywhere at once, I suppose, he said. But I missed a lot, seemingly. That's what he's sad about, missing a chance to see an Oliphant. In the meanwhile, the host made ready for the return to Minas Tirith. The weary rested, and the hurt were healed, for some had labored and fought much with the remnants of the Easterlings and the Southrons. Oh, wow, they really did. They fought a lot until all were subdued. And latest of all, those returned, who had passed into Mordor and destroyed the fortresses in the north of the land. So the fortresses in the north, Barad-dûr was already destroyed. Well, I guess that is the north of Mordor. And then the gates destroyed naturally. Minas Morgul or Cirith Ungol in the pass, just general fortresses. Southrons, not Southrons. Southrons, Southrons, Southrons. All right, I'll say it. Southrons. Sounds right. Wow, we're still doing religion debate. All right, nice. Full moons, vernal equinox. It's going over my head. Destroyed the fortresses in the north of the land. But at the last, when the month of May was drawing near, the captains of the west set out again, and they went aboard ship with all their men. And they sailed from Cair Andros down Anduin to Osgiliath, and there they remained for 1 day. And the day after they came to the green fields of the Pelennor, and saw again the white towers under tall Mindoluin, and the city of the men of Gondor, last memory of Westerness, that had passed through the darkness and fire to a new day. And there, in the midst of the fields, they set up their pavilions and awaited the morning. For it was the eve of May, and the king would enter his gates with the rising of the sun. So the eve of May. All right, so the end of April, the king would enter his gates with the rising sun. I wonder, planning to start the day and get out there to go with sunrise. I guess it'd be rising behind him as he goes into the gates. Yeah, rising over Mordor, the sun rising over. Yeah, wow. Oh, yes. All right. Thank you, Appaloosa. Wow. What a chapter. I'll take one final peek at the next chapter, but for a second, I just got to process all that has been read. Um, wow, that was great. I that was so satisfying. I feel like I could have done with a little bit more. You know what? I'll probably just have to read it again. I want to soak in more of that because, like, just the little moments with Sam and Frodo. This reminds me of the feeling I got reading about Merry and Pippin in Isengard when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli joined them and they were having a meal together and just talking through all the things that they had missed and catching up. I just love that. It's so great. I want to like hear those stories. I'm like, just yeah, you know what? Why don't you just retell the whole thing for me while I'm at it? It makes me want to just start the books over and just read the whole thing, you know, from a little frame story of all the things we just went through. But hearing a funny summary from Gimli, I think I could just hear more and more of that. It just sounds great to me. But I love relaxing in this place with them. Great chapter, very satisfying. I've always thought that was great about the movies, where the ending is so drawn out and long and like fulfilling. And this is going to be just like it. I can already tell because there's so much to chew on as we process everything we've been through together. Wow. The next chapters will keep satisfying me. Good. That's exactly what I want to hear. I got through this a little faster than I expected, partly because I just didn't want to stop reading. So I was doing a lot of reading on this one. And I think it was a little bit of a short chapter. Wow. Excited for what's to come. All right, let's take a peek at what's to come. Well, Brett. Well. What are you, crazy? You know what? It's not the worst idea. But I like it being in neat chapter chunks. And the next chapter is not short enough to cover in the time that I got. Not too long, but I bet I can squeeze this in on a Saturday. Now with my son, it's a little harder to squeeze in the readings. But you know what? On Saturday, I'm watching him. My wife will be gone. Jen's doing a baby shower for my cousin. So maybe during his nap, I try to read the next chapter. And if he wakes up, so be it. I will bring him in here and he can listen to me read. You know what? I kind of like that idea. But every time I say that I'm going to read the next bit quickly, it doesn't happen, and then I feel bad. So, yeah. Ooh, Appaloosa. Deep inside, Frodo is haunted by his failure to destroy the ring. Yikes. Meaning, like, he didn't have the power to do it. He was taken by the ring, and if it wasn't for Gollum, he wouldn't have been able to do it. Fair enough that would haunt him, but I hope he would get some wise words from his therapist, Gandalf, who could tell him, that's silly to beat yourself up about that. That was Gollum's purpose. And you were more powerful than any man would have been able to get that close to destroying it. Because I'm curious how far anyone else would have gotten with the ring. Not far. And Frodo made it all the way to the edge. Barely got taken by the ring. Wow, John just went unannounced straight into it. Hanged for treason. Oh my goodness. A fan letter to Tolkien said that? Ridiculous. All right. Yes, you know what? I am going to read it all over and over. I'm going to keep reading these books. I can just tell. Although I did say that about Harry Potter, and I'm eager for my second read. I think as the series comes out, maybe on the channel here, we'll do the Harry Potter channel, read through it for the second time. But then I want to do it for Lord of the Rings too. But to be honest, that's a ways away. Because I got to finish, of course, do the appendix, then The Hobbit, then The Silmarillion, and then I think there are more other stories to get to. All right, but let me take a look. The Steward and the King. The Steward and the King? The Steward. Faramir? And the king? City of Gondor. All right, that's okay, that's all I got. It must be with Faramir, but the title and everyone has already claimed him as being the king. It's cool, he is the king. But it's just funny to say the steward. So I guess I'm curious if it's saying the steward and the king as in they're connected, they're going to talk things through, or we're going to get a little bit of each. And maybe we get some Faramir romance. Maybe we get steward passing on the throne to Aragorn, even though it's already been there. And just interacting, talking about things. What does a steward do if the king is there? I think the steward, I'm making this up, but I think the steward is still around. The steward is there to support the king, even if they're not holding the throne in a king's absence, maybe. So now he would have a place on Aragorn's Council of Wisdom. All right. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Otherwise, I'd be pretty tempted, Brett. You nearly got me to read on. But that's what I get for working from home all day and trying to do a lot of work and then reading it afterwards. So this has been a pleasure. There were stewards before the king disappeared. Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, good. An advisor. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. You guys, you're tempting. The only thing is, I can't half read a chapter and then have the titles be all messed up because I'm just following in John's footsteps, and whatever chapters he had labeled, I just throw my name, Danny, in front of the thing. And so, I don't want to mess it all up. So I'm going to pause for now, but partially that and partially I just am trying to soak it all in. I've said this before. It feels like wherever I pause it, it's like I pause the book and I get to hang out there. And this feels like a lovely place to hang out. Part of my mind is still with the hobbits in Ithilien, and part of my mind is now with this group of captains, the group of, the army right outside of Minas Tirith waiting for Aragorn to come. So this feels like such a nice, pleasant place to hang out for a few days while I wait for the next reading. But if I read too quick, who knows where I'm going to end up. But I'm excited to hang out there next. But for now, mentally, I'm in the woods in Ithilien with the hobbits. That's where I am. And Legolas and Gimli too. And I like to think Aragorn's still there because he hasn't left for Minas Tirith yet. But wow. What a pleasure these chapters are. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. Until next time. This is good. This is so good.